There you go. Welcome to episode 7 of Flag Stays Down podcast. Tonight we've got full cast. I got myself, Andy. Find me at Comiskey North. You got Parker. You can find him at DJ Parkour. And you've got Matt, who, just like last week, still doesn't know how to access his Twitter. Boys, how are we doing this Sunday after a short turnaround?
Good to be here after a win.
Matt?
Doing good. We're here. We're doing big things. So can't be too upset at that.
Yeah, and it's definitely good to be back on back top of the table, especially after gritting out a 1-0 win after against a team that no one else can seem to beat. But before we get into that, as always, maybe this segment will be sponsored at some point. Boys, what are we drinking?
I'm still working on the Slipknot Iowa number 9. Haven't been disappointed. It's quite good. It's going down a little bit smoother than previously anticipated, but it is quite good. If you have a chance to get it, highly recommend getting some.
And I've got the end of my bottle, Rocknar, so I've got a pretty hefty pour to finish her off. So I'm gonna have to stop at my local liquor store to restock.
And I've got Cardinal Spirits. I don't know what they call their bourbon, but it is their bourbon. They're based out of like the Indianapolis area. Real good. This is like my 3rd or 4th bottle of it. I love it. But just in case,
hopefully
also,
tonight. Hopefully not tonight.
We'll leave that out. Just in case, I've also got Mobcraft MC Amber, little beer chaser, right? All right. Well, let's run down that Brentford match. Luckily, not too much for me to run down here. So Saturday was the 11:30 game here Central Time. The only goal in the game came in the 45th. Benny Chills with another fantastic hit off the volley. Stayed scoreless throughout, although those last 20 minutes certainly were nerve-wracking as Brentford racked up shot upon shot, cross upon cross. But it is what it is. A win's a win, and we stay top of the table. What were you guys' first reactions? Parker, how about you?
First reactions were I thought the first 70 minutes we did a really good job controlling the game. I thought we did a really nice job in possession. It was a solid match, solid performance, and then Brentford kind of got alive a little bit. Crowd got behind them, and it was fun to see our boys kind of shift a little bit and take a defensive stand. And those last 20 minutes had a lot of fun moments in it. Nervy moment. I didn't really feel nervous throughout the first 70, and then last 20, Mendy came alive and showed up where he had to. So super positive result, good win. We all thought last week that Brentford was going to score in this match, and they sure as heck came close. 2 crossbars and a whole lot of attempts. So to get out with a clean sheet, I think is fantastic.
Matt, how about you?
I said it last week. Brentford is a team that I do not want to go up against after an international break. They are scary. They're the type of team, kind of as I alluded to last week, they don't have a lot of people playing internationally. They have time to kind of rest up, heal up. Chelsea, we all know the caliber of player that they have. There's a lot of people on international break playing for their countries, things like that. And with the way that Brentford played in the last few weeks, that was a team I was kind of worried about going up against, and it showed. I agree with Parker. Chelsea dominated a fair amount of the game, which we expected them to do. And defensively, we talk about it a lot. We're very solid defensively. Very nervy times. It's the it's the old adage, bend not break, and I think that we had a lot of bend. We had a lot of bend in there, and we were very close to breaking. But Mendy, there's not enough you can say about him and what he did. In very tight situations, he made crucial saves. We did get lucky on a few where Brentford caught the post, which, again, I think last year we were one of the top teams in hitting the post. So maybe that's a little bit of karma. But, I mean, all in all, it's a win. And in the Premier League against teams that on paper don't look as good as Chelsea or some of the top teams, you're going to have some of these knockdown, drag-out matches that, it's really going to test you. And a 1-0 result is going to end up being a massive 3 points. May not seem like it at the time, but that is a massive 3 points where we've already seen other teams struggle and drop points. So I think it's a big win for us.
Yeah, and it kind of tying what both of you said together here, I thought it was a solid match for 70 minutes in terms of the team as a whole. The last 20 minutes was a great defensive effort. But I guess my takeaway from the match, besides the defense, because we're going to get to that, I'm sure we're going to talk about that pretty in depth here, was the team selection. They're coming off the international break, Matt, as you said, Brentford had plenty of players available because they don't have a lot of players going out on duty. We have a whole bunch. We had a whole bunch come back with injury. Looking at the lineup that we put out, it was basically Big Rom, Timo Werner, and I guess you could consider Loftus-Cheek your other kind of attacking player. Outside of that, you're basically playing an entire defense. Dave and Chills on the wings, obviously your back three, and then N'Golo Kante, who's primarily a defensive holding mid, and Kova, who plays kind of that same role. How we scored a goal is beyond me, but very, very impressed with the team effort. But sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I was impressed with how far up Chills went up the pitch. He was very eager to get up the pitch, and so was Dave, but just to a little bit lesser of a sense. I thought the left side was really the key for us because you had Chilwell really attacking that left flank, and then Sarr behind him really picking up the pieces. And Sarr in his Premier League debut was fantastic for me. He was wonderful. His positioning was great. His decision making was great. I felt like I was consistently saying like, "Wow, awesome," and not many. There was like maybe one or two things that he did just a little bit off, but holy cow, he stepped up in a big way and kind of made his presence known in the Premier League. So hats off to him. First start there, and great job there.
Yeah, he was one of my standouts by far. Looking at whoscored.com, he was the second highest rated player in the match behind Ben Chills. And you're right. Tactically, he was exactly where he needed to be. He would track back. He made a couple outstanding tackles on counters, which saved us goals. And the whole time I'm thinking during the match, considering he couldn't even get into Porto's first team on loan and barely featured for their second team, is it that he wasn't as good last year, or is it that our coaching staff is better at recognizing talent than Porto?
Yeah, I mean that's a fair question, and we kind of briefly touched on this before we started recording, but just because somebody goes somewhere on loan doesn't mean that they're going to get playing time. It's just one of those things where you're hoping that they're going to get playing time and they start to grow as a player. But with Sarr, he didn't really get the opportunities that I think that we were hoping he would get, but he showed that he's definitely a talent. He can hang in the Premier League. Brentford, but at the same time, that's probably one of the more vicious attacking onslaughts that we've taken on and like for this whole season. The only other one arguably was Liverpool. We were down to 10 men and we were just getting peppered left and right with the ball. But I think in a debut match to come into a team of that caliber, knowing that he's probably 5 on the depth chart as far as center backs go. I think he did a wonderful job. I think he did a lot more than we could have probably ever anticipated him to do in a debut. So hats off to him.
And not just Sarr, but man, that the entire defense. There's a couple big jabs and small jabs this week at Chelsea's defense. I don't know if you guys saw what Paul Scholes said. Basically, that Chelsea has, out of the top 4, the worst defense, behind Harry Maguire and Man U, who gave up 4 goals to Leicester this weekend. But that's besides the point. Even Arlo White in the commentary mentioned, that Brentford may have a field day with against this makeshift defense. Pretty good defense, if you ask me.
And a young defense too. I mean, Christensen at what 24, 25, something like that, being the oldest of the 3 back there. A young defense, and one that has not played together yet. They look like a pretty composed unit back there. Yeah,
absolutely. And, it definitely was kind of a makeshift defense, obviously, after the international break and whatever. But, we kind of talk about this. Tuchel knows what he's doing. He had enough faith in Sarr, and that could just be because everybody else was tired. He was giving him a break, but he had enough faith in him to throw him out there and see what he could do. And, well, he definitely lived up to the billing, and then some. The fact that those 3 can work that well together their first time playing against what we saw was basically, an offensive masterclass by Brentford at the end, just beating the hell out of us defensively, like just taking over the game, just beating the hell out of us for 20 straight minutes. The fact that they stayed composed and they could hold their own, I think that speaks volumes to not only the players that we have, but also to Tommy T and, just the message that he's getting across and buying into a system.
Yeah, and that one person I think has really bought into the system, and I've noticed crazy improvement out of him, is Trevoh Chalobah. I was listening back to some of our old pods this week, and I was really ripping on him early in the season for not being where he needs to be, not being able to track back. For example, when he played against Ollie Watkins would blow by him on just about every turn. Today he had a pretty similar, or not today, yesterday, he had a pretty similar matchup against Ivan Toney, and he never really got past him. There were a couple breakaways, couple counters, but Trev tracked back, made a tackle. The only real flaw I saw in his game is that he couldn't win a header. For a tall guy, that's not ideal, but he's only got maybe 600 minutes in the league. It's pretty impressive what he's done in a short amount of time.
I was super impressed by Trev. I thought he was super physical. I feel like he's been to the Tony Rudiger school of physicality a little bit, because he was bossing people around a little bit, and he definitely was fighting for his position. I agree with you, Collins. I think he needs to win a little bit more headers. A lot of Brentford's attack came from long throws and then got played on by headers, and then there's a ball in the box and someone gets a foot to it. So I thought that was one of the only flaws for us. But man, if you guys watch if you go back and watch his clearance on the goal line, holy crap. He was way out and he sprinted into the box on the line and then cleared the ball off. And I've seen that too many times where someone's ball watching a little bit too much and doesn't get to the right place in the right time. And he knew exactly where he needed to be. He sprinted back there and he got to the position and got the ball off the line and saved us a goal. I mean, point blank, saved us a goal.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those players that you can see coming into his own. As we kind of talked about, we weren't extremely high on him to start. We thought he had some good matches, but you can see him grow even from the beginning of the season, and seeing that growth, it's been almost exponential. And you can only hope that it keeps going at that route. And to know that he has the kind of experience of Thiago Silva, of Rudiger, of Dave, like he has all of that at his disposal to learn and expand his game and his craft. I only see bigger things for him, and I'm very excited by the progress that I've seen so far out of him.
So you mentioned Thiago Silva, and one thing I couldn't help but think when reflecting on the game, and not only that, but the season. Do you think Thiago Silva has played more of a role off the pitch than on the pitch? Because you talk about Chalobah tracking back to get in the goal. That's a classic Thiago Silva move. You talk about Rudiger being physical and Malang Sarr being physical. I can't tell you how many times I hated Thiago Silva at PSG for playing that kind of that kind of soccer, that kind of football. I think he's kind of like a John Terry figure, where he's kind of passing on that knowledge. He's the one who is kind of coaching these players up. I mean, it could be that or it could be Tuchel, but the experience of Silva, I think, is paying dividends.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt.
Go ahead, Parks.
I think not a lot of credit goes to the quote locker room guys. In a lot of sports, I don't think people get the credit they deserve. Good locker room figures, good experienced players, good vets. I've seen Thiago Silva on the sidelines running up and down, jumping up and down, yelling at his players to get in position. You'll love to see it. There was a picture going around the internet this week of him in a Chelsea blanket, and it's just like little things like that, man. You just love to see the buy-in. You love to see him, just really taking this thing to heart. So I think he's been a great influence on our team, and he's a presence on the pitch, and I love to see him on the pitch in big matches, but I think he's really coaching these young guys up too. So I think his presence is being felt both sides of the pitch.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's doing it on both ends. And, as far as is one more important than the other, or is he doing one more than the other? I would say he's doing them equally. We look back to the Tottenham game where he played ridiculously well, like stupid well. We were all talking like, what is going on? Like the man's 37 years old, and he is still the best player on the pitch by far. To be able to still do that, and then also have the humbleness to say, all right, off the pitch, I'm going to help get these players up to speed. I'm going to help them. I'm going to give them what I know. That's something that a lot of times you don't get, and that doesn't even relate to soccer. That's just kind of life in general. Whether it's at your job or something like that, like you got somebody more experienced than you, you want to learn as much as you can. Sometimes they might not always want to give you that knowledge because they want to stay where they're at. He's so humble about everything that he does. He just wants to win. He wants to see people get better. He is one of those people that makes the players around him better. And I think that is something that you can't put a price tag on. You really can't. The fact that we got him as a free transfer, I think that was an absolute steal. It speaks to the work that he's already done. Looking at the very young defensive core that we do have right now, the fact that you can already see the influence on that after just a few months with the kids back there, I think that's everything you could have hoped for and more when you did sign him.
And this is going to be the one time, and probably the first and maybe the last time we talk about Andreas Christensen. I don't know why he never comes up, but he never does. I just wanted to point out here, don't want to get in depth about him, but that back three cost a combined $0 to the club. Christensen was an academy product. Malang Sarr was a free agent. Trev was a academy product. So way to go, boys.
We mentioned the fact that Chelsea does good business, right? In our last podcast, we talked about how we're not afraid to spend the money, but we also look for other avenues. And you throw Thiago Silva in that mix too with a free transfer as well. Our defense is looking pretty good, and I'm super pumped about this team right now, especially our defense. And we've mentioned it before. I'll say it again. Our defense has never been our standout spot for us. So it's exciting to see some young guys come up, and I'm really high on this team right now.
Yeah, so let's get into the anchor of the defense there, and savior, Lord and Savior, Edouard Mendy. Fantastic last 20 minutes, despite possibly being injured. I didn't quite catch exactly what the injury was. I was in the middle of tweeting, and I looked up, and all of a sudden he's on the ground, and I'm like, uh-oh. Time to call in Kepa. Thank God we did not. Mendy saved the day. Is he the best keeper in the world, in the league? What do you guys think?
So it's a somewhat loaded question. His distribution is not the best. I don't think his distribution is on the level of Ederson or even Alisson. I really don't think that it's close in that regard. But Ederson isn't the best goal-stopping keeper. He's really not. Ederson, I think, is all of 6'2", 6'3". Mendy's 6'5", 6'6", something like that. As far as shot blocking goes, I think that Mendy is getting to the point that De Gea was about 3 years ago. I think he's getting that kind of caliber. Obviously, De Gea has kind of slipped off a little bit in recent years, but for a while you couldn't get anything past De Gea, and I think Mendy is quickly approaching that level. The goals that do go in against him are they're either penalties, which we know that we prefer Kepa in that situation, or they're just worldy goals that you can't really do much. And I think a big gripe has always been that he's never really been challenged because we do have such a good defense. Well, he got tested last week or yesterday. He got tested to the fullest extent, and he passed with flying colors. He took that ball off the head so hard. I'm shocked that he even knew his own name. Like, that thing caught him pure in the side of the head from point blank range, and it wasn't like a miss hit. No, I think it was it Janssen? I think he was the one that hit it, and I think he's the center back or midfielder. Either way, he caught that thing pure. Point blank range, Mendy right to the side of the dome. Down for a little bit, but got back up and was ready to go. And the thing is, he was still under pressure. Like, that was in between plays. Boom, it happened. They still had possession for about another 4 or 5 minutes. And then finally, when there was a stoppage, then he went down. That tells you everything you need to know about him. He just fights. He's gritty. He does whatever he has to do to win. And I will say he is probably one of the top 3 keepers in the league right now.
Matt, to build on it, like, I watched him get smashed in the face and probably concussed. And then to come back in that overhead kick save that he had, that was the best one for me. It was just phenomenal. It was a snapshot. It was a phenomenal shot, and he tipped it, and it hits the bar and goes over. You could see the Brentford fans behind the goal just go, and then just the look of like disbelief that he got a hand to that ball was unbelievable. And that's after the fact that he got hit in the face, man. And so he had 2 really, really good saves. I think the first one was Tony, a ball that he caught and he hit down into the ground, and Mendy got over to it. And then the overhead kick was just world-class saves. And so I think it's easy for us to sit here and say he's the best keeper in the world after a performance like that. I think he's definitely in the conversation of top 5 in the world and top 2 in the league. I think we need to see a few more consistent performances. But Matt, you said it as well. Like, he doesn't have a ton of balls to save. I think his save percentage is by far the best in the league. I think he's got like a 94% save percentage on balls that he can get to. And the bottom line is we've conceded 3 goals. 2 of them have been from penalties and 1 from open play. And that's a pretty outstanding record after 8 matches played. So I think it's a credit to Mendy. It's a credit to our defense. But the defense bailed them out a few times with especially Chalobah, the ball off the line. But Mendy had some world-class saves tonight, or yesterday, I should say, and we are definitely lucky to have him between the sticks.
Yeah, and I've gone back and forth on best in the league, best in the world. Matt, I agree with you. His distribution isn't the best, but Parker, building off what you said, I think his reflexes have to be one of the best. Talking about that overhead kick, that was a bang bang play, and he was able to get not just fingertips on it, but a solid hand on it. And it's not the first time that we've seen him do that this year. I believe it was against Spurs, where they had about 2 or 3 shots in about a 5-second tick there, and he got a touch on 2 of them. The other one blasted out. But it's amazing how quickly he reacts to things. Now, like you guys have said, that our defense is fantastic. He doesn't face a lot of challenges, but he's conceded 34 goals in 54 matches, 30 clean sheets in those 54 matches. It's hard to argue with those numbers. It's ridiculous numbers. Just for reference, when he was at Reims, 36 clean sheets in 85 matches. It's phenomenal what we're seeing right now. And I think I saw he's the fifth quickest to get to that number of clean sheets in Premier League history, behind the likes of Petr Cech, as well as some of the other greats. It's amazing. I hope it continues, and hopefully by the end of the year, we're able to say, yeah, he is one of the 2-3 best in the world, not just in this league. Well, turning from defense to the attack, Parker, you and I had spoken when we were watching the game about Timo Werner and how dangerous he is. How he played really got overlooked or overshadowed by the last 20 minutes there. But what did you make of his performance?
He's a workhorse, man. Absolute workhorse. And I thought he was super dangerous in attack. And I just like that he's been lively. He also came back to the ball a few more times than normal, so he's not kind of just sitting on an island by himself. But I just got to applaud him for his work rate and what he does on the pitch. And he's always looking to make runs. And even when he doesn't get the ball, he doesn't look super discouraged. He always looks to attack. He always looks to run. So that's kind of been his MO. But I really enjoyed his link-up play tonight. And his play between Loftus-Cheek and Kovacic and those guys. So I think all positive from Timo. He's coming off a big Germany break where he had a couple of goals, and super positive on Timo these days. So would have loved to see him get one. I thought he deserved one, especially on the counter late in the game. I thought he had a couple of chances for it, but nonetheless, didn't go his way that day. He didn't seem disappointed in his performance, and I wasn't disappointed in his performance either. I was high on Timo that day.
Yeah, I mean, we know this. Like, he'll go a full 90 if he needs to, and he'll be hauling ass for every single minute. The one thing that still is a bit of a concern to me is he is in that final third between him and Rom. He has chances where he can take the shot on, but he's looking to try and find Rom instead. And listening to Arlo, and as much as we talk about Arlo, it's because we absolutely love Arlo. He did bring up a good point. He goes, he's still just looking for confidence. even after scoring 2 during the break, he's still lacking the confidence with this Chelsea team to hit that, one-time shot. And instead he tries to find Big Rom when he might not need to. I think that's definitely a confidence thing. He's trying to be more of a setup man than a goal scorer, which is good to an extent, but I think we're starting to hit that extent right now. He just has opportunities that, I think that we would all agree that he should take on himself, but he's just looking for that extra pass, and it might just be that scenario of one pass too many. That's really the only thing that I'm kind of struggling with as far as Timo right now. But if that's the worst thing to come out of it, I'm happy.
Yeah, I by no means think he's going to be a 20-goal scorer in this league at any point, even if he was sole striker like he was last year. But I think he's going to create. He's going to have more stats like Bruno Fernandes, where just distributes a lot, can score, although less from the penalty spot than Bruno. I think he needs to just find that switch with him and Big Rom, because looking at the stats, I forgot the website I was on, but it broke down who each player passes to, completion percentage. Timo and Big Rom do not interchange a whole lot at all. They haven't this season. And I think this is still relatively new, playing with the two at the top. And so those two are still kind of forging a relationship. Certainly going from the beginning of the season when it was Big Rom, Big Rom, Big Rom, Big Rom, to now going 2 strikers. It's a change in system, and it's going to take an adaptation. And we saw that Timo maybe necessarily isn't the best at adapting last year. But Parker, like you said, he's getting into spaces. And Matt, like you said, he's making passes. I think he's still our most dangerous threat, but he does need to be more lethal in front of the net. I do like this partnership going forward, though. I think this is the key to unlock Big Rom after his kind of slowing up here. But that is the next thing I wanted to get into, is yet another match where Big Rom has minimal chances and obviously no goals. Are you guys worried?
I think his confidence is taking a hit a little bit. The one point in the match where I saw his lack of confidence was, and it eventually got called offside, but he got a ball played to him and he smashed it over the goal, and it was a shot that he buries 19 times out of 20. And even just watching that go into the back of the net and then getting called, I think Timo was offside before him. Even just seeing that go in the back of the net would have been a good confidence boost for him, but he missed that. And I'm not worried about him, but I think he needs to see a ball, get back there and get back into form a little bit. So touch worried, but not crazy concerned.
Yeah, I mean, we know this, especially at Chelsea. You're going to have strikers with rough patches. We saw the same exact thing with Timo last year. He went off to a great start and then dried out as the year went on. Confidence went down. Same with Rom. At least, granted, we haven't seen the full season, but started off super, kind of starting to fade a little bit. But, teams are starting to learn how to play against Rom. And I think that kind of goes back to his partnership with Timo. That's going to free up Timo more. And, it's kind of playing off who's more dangerous at a certain point. If they start controlling Rom, it's up Timo. But if they start focusing on Timo, then it's going to free up Rom. And then if you have like a Pulisic or a Mount starting off of that, and then they come into play, I just think that from the offensive side of the ball, we're lacking. But I think that's only because we keep changing our front three due to injury, due to who's available. Sometimes you throw Kai out there, sometimes you throw Ziyech. Pulisic is out. Mount wasn't fit enough to at least start and play a full 90. So you kind of have to do with it what you have available to you. I think that's kind of been one of the things is, in more specific on that right side of the ball, you don't know who's going to be up there yet. Mount, Cho, even could go up there, but Mount, Cho, Pulisic, Ziyech, Havertz, you really don't know who's going to be up there. I think that's kind of taking away from kind of really having that front three really break out and start creating the chances that we know that they can create, and also that they can capitalize on.
Yeah, and along with what you guys have said, I don't necessarily worry about Big Rom himself. I worry about the tactics. I worry about the fact that Tuchel still hasn't found a way to fit him into his system. I don't think Tuchel should have to change his system to accommodate Big Rom, because then we're nothing more than Cristiano United. But we have to find a way to get him facing goal. It shouldn't always be back towards the ball or back towards the goal. Shouldn't always be the hold up man. We need to play him into space. His first touch has been poor this year, but I think that's because he hasn't had a whole lot of first touches. I think the more you get him integrated into the attack, the better off he'll be. But getting him there is my worry. And with the 3-5-2 or the 3-4-3, I don't know exactly how that is going to work. I'm interested to see how it plays out. But if it continues, I'm going to be a little worried that maybe, should be bringing in and maybe bring Tammy back, bring back somebody who can fit into Tuchel's system. But early days, right?
Yeah.
It's working so far. We're still top of the table. We're doing what we need to do for right now, and hopefully it's just a small dip in form that we know he can score. It's not like it's something new to him. We know he can score. We know he can go on a tear. So I think it's just something that he's going to overcome, and I think he'll be back in form sooner rather than later.
And to make an American football argument, if you have to triple team Aaron Donald every single play because he's that dominant, and then someone else gets a sack, Aaron Donald's stats aren't going to look great, but you know what? As a team, you do well, and as a unit, you do well. And if Chelsea keep winning, if we keep scoring goals, if we keep pressure on teams, and if we keep winning and we win the league, he did his job. I don't really care what the stats say at the end of the day. He is a part of the 11. He's a consistent part of the 11 that wins games, and that's a positive for us.
So Collins, I want to bring up a question that kind of just was sparked off of Parker's comment. Are we worried that we're too reliant on our midfielders and our defense scoring goals right now?
Oh, I'm not worried about our midfielders scoring goals. Our midfielders can't score a goal to save their lives. Arlo White said something to another Arlo reference drink. He made a comment about how it's a dying breed, that really no one in the top four outside of City, but that's because they don't have any strikers, really uses scoring midfielders. I am kind of concerned that Chills and Marcos Alonso have more goals than Jadon Sancho this year. I don't think that should be the case. And I'm worried. I'm not worried until it starts falling apart, I guess you could say. Like you guys have been saying, as long as we can carry on winning, as long as we can grit out ugly games, fine. Let it be 3 points is 3 points at the end of the day. No one's going to remember how you got those 3 points, except for us when we talk about it on the following Sunday. But I guess short answer, at this point, I'm not worried, but I certainly could be if we go on a little bit of a losing streak here.
If we go on a losing streak and Rom and Timo are missing sitters and they're missing easy chances or chances that we believe should be going in, or they're not creating chances, right? That's when the concern starts to raise up. Right now, we're finding team goals and finding ways to score. And my comment to you, Andy, when we were watching the game was, Rom worked hard to get a kick on that ball that ended up falling to Chills. And that stat goes completely missed, right? No one talks about that stat. He doesn't get a stat for it. He doesn't get an assist, but he fought a defender off, got a kick on the ball. It ended up falling to Chills, and Chills struck it beautifully. And Chills gets all the credit in the world, right? Because it was a worldly strike. It's a phenomenal strike. But to me, I look at Rom like, dude, if you didn't work that hard and get a kick, then he wouldn't have had a shot at it. So I still see some of those moments, and I still see that you win as a team and you lose as a team. And there's a lot of moments in a match. And if Chalobah doesn't track back and clear a ball off the line, then we draw. And now we're talking about something different. If Mendy doesn't have some of the saves he has, now we lost, right? Now it doesn't even matter that Chills scored because we ended up losing. So the 11 that are out there, they played as a unit and they all work together. So
me, I'm a little bit nervy about the fact the prolific offense that we have at our disposal. When you look at everybody when they're healthy, and when you total up that value, we talked about the defense. 4 out of 5 of our starting center backs cost 0. And then you look at the front three, the potential front three at any given moment, you're talking what? 300, 400 mil? When you're spending that kind of money and they're not producing for what you paid them for, then I think that gets a little bit scary. Granted, we all know in world football, you pay for goals, you pay for strikers, you pay for your offense, unless you get some sort of worldly defender like a Virgil or like a Sergio Ramos when he was in his prime, something like that. Like if you get that, sure. But center backs are pretty much dime a dozen, and everybody's paying for forwards and strikers and wings and whatever. But when you're paying that amount of money, when we could be spending it elsewhere, if we're just going to be reliant on our left backs and our center backs to score the goals, what's the point of even having a striker? Maybe, and I'm just throwing this out there, maybe City and Pep have a point. They might. If they don't have a true striker, but they just have a lot of talented midfielders that can produce goals and, build a good team relationship and get them that way, maybe you don't need to spend that kind of money on strikers and trying to find goals. Just a thought.
One of my favorite books, and Parker, I think you put me onto this, is Soccernomics. And one of the rules of Soccernomics is you never spend money on a striker. Because anyone can score goals. All these guys have been scoring goals since they were 4 years old. We had that with Tammy. I was not big on Tammy, but we had it with Tammy. Olivier Giroud was not super expensive. Now you've got guys who have big price tags over them, and they're human. There's always that pressure. I think we saw it last year with Timo. We could see it here with Rom. I mean, Rom's a guy who has wanted to be at Chelsea since he was a kid. I think that's going to add even more pressure for him to go out and score more goals. But the world may be zigging, but City, as you mentioned, Matt, is zagging, and I think you're right. I wonder if we should follow suit. But it's kind of hard at this point when you're already pot invested into $200 million worth of strikers.
We are, and I think our team last year was kind of that, right? We didn't have the super big signing striker last year, and we did just fine, I guess. Not our best year, but definitely not our worst. And I think a lot of our production comes from our defense and from our mid, and it's a different way of attacking things.
Yeah, and speaking of different ways of attacking things, we can't go this whole pod without talking about Chills with another worldy goal, especially after Matt and I talk shit about it. Matt, do we need a left back now, or are we still cutting the left back position?
So I still stand by this fact that regardless of if it's Alonso or Chills, we have two of the best left foots or a left back in the world. Either one of them can hit that. So either one of them can hit that volley, no problem. They're the left foot on Alonso and Chills is so good. They can hit that volley. They can hit that cross. They can do almost whatever you need them to. So from that standpoint, I still think that holds true. And we saw that with Chills and his strike. He couldn't have caught that any clean. He hit that thing so pure in a great spot with such pace. Absolute bullet. Now, from the defensive side, I still think you have the liability, regardless of if you put Alonso or Chills. I still think you have it. I do think Chills is a better defender than Alonso, not by a ton, but enough to put him ahead. Now, does this put Chills ahead of Alonso as far as the starting position? I don't know. Only because, and that's something that Tuchel knows, and as much as we speculate on it, that's his call. I'm torn. Let's put it that way. You could go either way, but I still don't have a clear-cut number one as my left back.
Yeah, I'm starting to get in the same boat. This is the second or third time now that I've eaten shit after a comment on this pod. And I don't know, it's working, so maybe I just talk. Maybe Rom will score a hat trick next week. There we go. But Chills has looked good in the attack. Been so-so on defense. Alonso can't play defense. Has been so-so on attack. Especially with how we lined up yesterday. I would have rather seen Cho in that position just for another attacking player. Because like I said, it was Werner, Rom, and I guess you can call Loftus-Cheek a part of your attack there. But that was it. Otherwise, it was defense. So if you're going to line up 8 defenders, maybe put Cho out there, or it would have helped to have Christian or someone. But if you're going to play a more attacking style, then I think Chills or Alonso should be in there as your left back.
Yep. My only comment about Chilwell will be in the start of the season, people were asking Tuchel why he wasn't in the lineup yet. And he mentioned some fitness things and that Alonso was just more ready to go at the start of the season. And at first I kind of thought, that sounds like a little bit of a cop-out, but it seems like Chilwell might be kind of hitting his stride. And I think the race is a little bit closer than we initially thought. And so I think he might be winning out or edging now. And it doesn't hurt the fact that he's scored now in the last 2 Premier League games. So he's providing attack, he's getting up, and I thought he was in great position for that goal. He was all the way up in the box to catch that ball. So it shows his positioning, his attack mindedness. And it's kind of funny that we have 2 of the best left foots, 2 good attackers in that left back position, and then 2 of the not best defenders in that left back position. It's an interesting problem to have because I think they're pretty similar, Alonso and Chills. But I give the nod to Chills right now. I think if you played the Champions League final next week, I think he gets the start.
Yeah, Parker, you're all over these transitions because that's the next thing I was going to move to is we have Champions League this week. Oh, it's good to be back. And fortunately, it's against Malmo after a disappointing showing against Juve last time out. I don't know much about Malmo. Do you guys?
Not much at all.
All right.
Less than that for me.
Some quick interesting facts I found out about them. They do have one American, Romain Gall, formerly of Real Salt Lake. Also, they are tied for first in the Swedish league with 45 points. They start in spring instead of in the fall. And finally, they have yet to score a Champions League goal this year. So, how bad is the clean sheet going to be this week?
2-0. Because, we're in an interesting spot. We had the international break. People weren't up to par. Fine. Now we play Malmo in the Champions League. You kind of need a win, especially against a team like this, and the fact that we lost against Juve. You kind of need a win to kind of reassert dominance in the group. But I don't think you're going to throw out the strongest team that you have. Granted, you have Norwich coming up after that. So, again, bottom of the table team, once tied with Arsenal for bottom of the league. But it's just one of those things where you don't want to take it too lightly, but you don't want to, bring a gun to a knife fight. So I think 2-0 is going to be plenty. I think we throw out a kind of a. I think this is kind of more of a fitness game. Get some people back up to fitness. We might see the return of Christian if all things go well. It doesn't have to start, but maybe throw him out there for 30 minutes in the second half. Hopefully we're up 1-2-0 by that point. Throw him out there, get him some game fitness back, and then maybe bring him back for Norwich. But I don't think it's going to be. I think it might be like a B+ lineup, and then against Norwich you kind of go more of an A- type lineup.
I think I would love to see Christian get the start. I want to see him back out there and getting back up to match fitness. I think he starts with Mace, and I think Chelsea dominate the match, and I think we put up 3 or 4 goals. So I've been waiting for this team to have a breakout match where we put a lot in, and who better than to do it against? I think we have a one of those breakout matches where our creativity and our speed and athleticism just kind of takes it to them. We create most of the chances, we hold possession and control the match, and I think we put in 4.
Yeah, Malmo's given up 3 and then 4 in their 2 Champions League matches. I think we score one of those 2. I do think it's going to be a Havertz and Ziyech game, so I think it's going to be a little rough. I don't think Pulisic's going to be ready till probably next week. But I do think we see Sarr and Trev play again. I think they get another trot out, which is going to be another fantastic thing to watch, and maybe throw Kepa out there. Matt, you're right. This is going to be a rotation game. It's going to be a B+ squad game, which is nice. I enjoy watching the Carabao Cup for that reason, and I will enjoy watching this week to see how the young boys do. But yeah, I would agree. So I think we're all in agreement somewhere between 2 and 4. And probably this weekend too. What do you guys think of Norwich?
Norwich hasn't scored a whole lot either, right? I mean, they're not doing so hot in the league, sitting in 20th. So yeah, I think we can also put out a B+, A- kind of a lineup. I know Big Rom has had a lot of minutes and had to drop out of the Belgium squad just due to some fatigue issues. Get our players all rested up, get everyone to their best, and get the rest you need. We have the squad to do it. We have the squad to rotate, and yeah, I would be shocked if we didn't score 2 goals against Norwich.
The American side of me is going to come out. I'm going to say it is going to be a 2-1 victory for Chelsea. The one from Norwich, a Jock Sergeant Wonderstrike. Right now, heard it here first. I have to give love to the American in the Premier League. I have to. It's just the optimism, but wait, Chelsea get the win.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way Norwich scores in this game. They've scored 2 goals all year, conceded 16. It's been rough. Now, granted, their last match was 0-0 against top 4 Brighton. So, maybe they can hang, but they're going to be without their best player in Billy Gilmore, who is also probably one of our best players. So, this one should be another rout. It just depends on who gets thrown out there. Like I said, this might be a game, or it might be the game against Malmo where Rom scores a hat trick, or this might be a Timo hat trick. Someone's going to score a lot of goals in this game, and it's just going to be more pain for Norwich.
For those people tuning in who are new to the podcast, Andy, Matt, and myself are all massive Billy G fans. So we would be cheering for Billy G in any other match, not against Chelsea. He cannot play against Chelsea due to the loan agreement. So I guess that's a good thing because we don't want him to score a hattie against us. But no, we're all big fans of him, and we hope he comes back and hope he suits up for Chelsea in the future.
Just let it be known, I will be wearing my Billy G jersey for the match. That there is no there's no dodging that. I definitely will have that on in full force.
And I'm fully on board with next year, our midfield 3 being Ronaldinho, Loftus-Cheek, Billy Gilmore, Conor Gallagher. Perfectly fine with me.
It's the youth.
Another $0.
What about little George? Where's he going to be? Right? UEFA Player of the Year.
Ballon d'Orge.
Oh, very nice. Well played there.
Well, he's gonna be in jail. Didn't you see the Metropolitan Police arrested him for stealing the Ballon d'Or?
No, we'll probably sell little George for $100 million to Real or something.
Oh my god! I can't even comprehend what that pod would be like.
Now we're thinking.
You just tell me where to sign. I'll approve it right now.
And then we can have N'Golo play as a winger.
Yes, absolutely.
I can't let this podcast end before we talk just a touch about Loftus-Cheek because I thought he was fantastic in the Brentford match. He got the ball, and what I love about him is he got the ball and he squared up and faced forward and wanted to attack every single time. He looked for passes, and he had a couple of moments where he took it himself and took on defenders straight on. So this has been the Loftus-Cheek push. Collins, you called him Ronaldinho, Loftus-Cheek, and I just think we need to tip the cap to him a little bit because I thought he was one of our best players against Brentford.
Yeah, we have the 3 of us when we would play FIFA together had a phrase "dipsy do," and it kind of just applied to anything that was fantastic. It really wasn't kind of a set anything, and I can't tell you how many times during this match I would just get up out of my seat and go, "Dipsy doo!" Eventually, my son at one point was just, whenever he would see something going on whenever he'd look up from Minecraft, he'd be yelling out "Dipsy doo." But yeah, anytime RLC touched the ball, it was magic.
Yeah, he's one of those rare players with his size. He's what, 6'4"? So he's 6'4". He has the strength to. I saw him make a run where he basically bodied 4 Brentford defenders in about a matter of 30 yards. That size, his strength, his composure, his talent, like his footwork, you can't ask for much more than that. The only thing you could maybe ask for is that he would score. But that's about it. And that's asking a hell of a lot from somebody who game in and game out might be playing an attacking position, might be playing a holding defensive mid. You don't know. And the fact that he's still able to do all that, and Parker, you said it best. He just turns and goes up the field. He will take on anybody without fear. And 9 times out of 10, he's going to win that battle. I think he has a very similar mindset to my boy Kova. You see him, and he just makes darting runs. He will go from 0 to 60 in a heartbeat, and he will start blowing past the midfield. And next thing you know, we're in the final third. I think RLC is the exact same way, and we've talked about him for a number of years. We were expecting a lot of good things for him. Couple loan stints and things like that, but now seeing him get his chance to shine and seeing him seize that opportunity and not only capitalize on it, but like he is playing far better than I think all of us would have expected him to play. And it hasn't stopped. It's not like he just had one good game. No, it's been constant. Every single time he's been out there, he has been a game changer. He is somebody that can take over when he needs to. And having that kind of additional weaponry to our already very deep and talented team, it's a blessing. And I'm very excited for what comes for the rest of the season for him and for Chelsea.
Yeah, let's close out the pod with a cheers to Cobham. It's one of the best academies now in the world. Just a quick list of players in our first team here: Andreas Christensen, Trevoh Chalobah, Reece James. Sorry, I'm scrolling. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Mason Mount, Lewis Baker. I did not know was still on the first team, but he is. And then you got Callum Hudson-Odoi. That's a pretty solid group, and we have even more who are on loan. Conor Gallagher, Billy Gilmore, who will be coming through in the years to come. So, boys, let's leave with a toast. Cheers to the academy.
Cheers.
All right. Well, until next week, again, you can catch us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at FlagDownPod. You can find our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. If you are on Apple Podcasts, please subscribe, rate, and review. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you'd like us to address on the pod, feel free to shoot us a DM, leave a comment anywhere on social media or in a review. Boys, till next week.
Go Chelsea.
Cheers, boys.